Ruth's hands were shaking as she polished the golden mirror in the bride's dressing room. But it wasn't because she was tired. It was because of what she had just heard. Let me take you back to the beginning of that day. The sun was barely awake when Ruth stepped off the bus that morning. Her worn shoes clicked softly on the marble steps of the biggest mansion she had ever cleaned, the Henderson estate. It looked like a castle from fairy tale, with white columns taller than trees and windows that sparkled like diamonds. Today was special. Today was the wedding day. Ruth had been cleaning houses for 20 years. She scrubbed toilets that rich people never thought about. She wiped mirrors that reflected faces of people who never saw her face. She was invisible, a ghost in a uniform. But Ruth didn't mind being invisible most days. She had her dignity. Her grandmother had taught her that. Ruth, baby. Her grandmother used to say, poor doesn't mean small. Hard work is honest work. You keep your head high. Ruth kept her head high, even when people treated her like furniture. The mansion was buzzing with noise. Florists carried towers of white roses. Photographers adjusted their cameras. Caterers rushed past with trays of fancy food that cost more than Ruth's monthly rent. You there, cleaning lady. A woman in a tight dress snapped her fingers at Ruth like she was calling a dog. The bride's room needs to be perfect. I want every surface shining. Move quickly. We don't have time for slowness. Ruth nodded quietly and climbed the spiral staircase to the second floor. Her cart squeaked behind her, carrying bottles of polish, clean rags, and a mop. The bride's dressing room was enormous. It had velvet couches, a chandelier that dripped with crystals, and a mirror so big Ruth could see her whole body in it. For a moment, she paused. She saw herself. A 62-year-old black woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Tired eyes. Strong hands marked by years of hard work. Then she got to work. Ruth cleaned the windows until they disappeared. She polished the tables until they glowed. She scrubbed the floors on her knees, just like always. That's when he walked in. Michael Henderson, the groom. Most rich people walked past Ruth like she was part of the wall. But not Michael. He stopped. He smiled. Good morning, Ruth. Ruth's heart jumped a little. He knew her name. He actually knew her name. Good morning, Mr. Henderson, Ruth said softly. Please, just Michael, he said, and his smile was warm like sunlight. I wanted to thank you. You've been taking care of this house for months now. My mother told me you're the best worker she's ever hired. Today is the most important day of my life, and I'm glad you're here to help make it perfect. Ruth felt something strange in her chest. Respect. Someone actually respected her. Thank you, sir. I mean, Michael. Congratulations on your wedding. Michael's eyes sparkled. I'm the luckiest man alive. Vanessa is everything I've ever dreamed of. Beautiful, smart, kind. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with her. He said it with such pure joy that Ruth smiled despite herself. After Michael left, Ruth felt lighter. Maybe today would be a good day after all. But then everything changed. Ruth was cleaning behind a tall decorative screen in the corner of the room when she heard voices. Female voices. Giggling. The door burst open, and the bride swept in with 3 of her friends. Vanessa, the bride. She was stunning. Long blonde hair like silk. A face like a movie star. A dress that probably cost more than Ruth's car. Ruth froze behind the screen. She didn't want to interrupt. She would just finish quickly and slip out. But then Vanessa started talking. I can't believe I'm actually doing this, Vanessa laughed, pouring champagne into glasses for her friends. You're glowing, babe, one friend squealed. Of course I'm glowing, Vanessa said. Do you know how much money Michael has? His family owns half the city. After today, I'll never have to worry about money again. The friends giggled. Ruth's hand stopped moving. Something felt wrong. Another friend spoke up. But do you really love him, though? I mean, really? There was a pause. Ruth held her breath behind the screen. Vanessa's laugh was cold, sharp, like breaking glass. Love him? Are you kidding? Michael is boring. He talks about charity work and helping people and being a good person. Blah, blah, blah. He's like a puppy that follows me around. But he's rich, very rich, and he's so in love with me. He'll give me anything I want. Ruth's heart began to pound. What about Derek? Another friend asked quietly. Oh, Derek. Vanessa sighed and her voice changed. It became soft. Dreamy. Derek is who I really love. He's exciting, dangerous, poor, unfortunately, but that doesn't matter. I'll marry Michael for his money, and Derek will still be my secret. Michael will never know. He's too trusting, too stupid. The room filled with wicked laughter. Ruth felt sick. So you're going to keep seeing Derek after the wedding? A friend asked. Of course, Vanessa said. Michael will be my husband on paper. Derek will be my real love. I'll have the money and the man I want. Perfect plan, right? More laughter, more champagne popping. Ruth's whole body was trembling now. She pressed herself against the wall behind the screen, praying they wouldn't see her. She thought about Michael's kind eyes, his genuine smile, the way he thanked her, the way he spoke about Vanessa like she was an angel. He had no idea at all. All right, ladies, Vanessa announced, let's get me into this wedding dress. Time to trap a millionaire. They laughed and left the room, their perfume hanging in the air like poison. Ruth stood there alone, hidden behind the screen, her cleaning rag clutched in her shaking hands. What should she do? If she spoke up, who would believe her? She was just a cleaning lady. Vanessa would deny it. Ruth would lose her job. Maybe all her jobs. Rich people protected rich people. But if she stayed quiet, Michael would marry a woman who was using him, a woman who planned to betray him before the wedding even ended. Ruth thought about her grandmother's voice. Truth is heavy, baby, but lies are heavier. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. The wedding would start in 2 hours. Ruth had 2 hours to decide if she would stay invisible or if she would finally be seen. Ruth sat on the edge of the bathtub in a small bathroom down the hall. Her heart wouldn't stop racing. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She kept hearing Vanessa's voice in her head. That cold laugh. Those cruel words. Michael is boring. He's too trusting, too stupid. Ruth pressed her hands against her face. She felt trapped, like the walls were closing in. What should she do? What should she do? She pulled out her phone with trembling fingers and stared at the cracked screen. She thought about calling her daughter, Lisa. But what would she say? Lisa had warned her about getting involved in rich people's business. Mama, just clean and come home, Lisa always said. Those people don't care about us. Don't make their problems your problems. Ruth put the phone back in her pocket. She stood up and looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. Really looked. She saw the uniform, the gloves, the tiredness in her eyes. She thought about all the years she had been invisible, all the times people had looked through her like she was made of air. When Ruth was younger, she had worked at a fancy hotel. One day, she found a wallet full of money in a room, hundreds of dollars. She could have kept it. She needed it badly, but she turned it into the front desk. The guest never said thank you, never even looked at her. Another time, she saw a man yelling at his wife in a parking lot, grabbing her arm roughly. Ruth almost walked over to help, but she stopped herself. It's not my business, she whispered. Stay invisible. Stay safe. The wife had looked at Ruth. Their eyes met for just a second, a silent plea for help. Ruth had walked away. She still remembered that woman's face, still wondered what happened to her, still felt the weight of her silence. Was she going to walk away again? Ruth closed her eyes, and suddenly she was 7 years old again, sitting in her grandmother's tiny kitchen. The smell of cornbread baking, the sound of gospel music on the radio. Her grandmother, Big Mama, was rolling out dough with her strong, wrinkled hands. Big Mama, little Ruth had asked, why do we have to work so hard when other people have so much? Big Mama had stopped rolling. She looked at Ruth with eyes that had seen too much pain, but still held light. Baby girl, listen to me good. We may not have fancy things, but we got something more important. We got truth. We got dignity. Those things can't nobody take from you unless you give them away. But what if telling the truth gets you in trouble? Ruth had asked. Big Mama had smiled. Truth is like water, baby. You can try to hold it back, but it's going to find its way out eventually. And when it does, it either waters a garden or floods a house. Better let it flow gentle and purposeful than let it burst through and destroy everything. Young Ruth hadn't understood then. But now, sitting in this mansion bathroom, she understood perfectly. The truth was already trying to burst through. She could feel it pushing at her chest, demanding to be released. Ruth opened her eyes. She walked back out into the hallway. The mansion was even busier now. Guests were arriving. Music was playing. Flowers were everywhere. She saw Michael downstairs, greeting people. He looked so happy, so hopeful. He was wearing a perfect black tuxedo, and his smile could light up the whole room. He shook hands with an older couple. "Thank you for coming. This means the world to me. I'm so blessed." Blessed? He thought he was blessed. Ruth's chest ached. She walked slowly down the servant staircase at the back of the house. In the kitchen, other workers were rushing around. Ruth recognized Maria, another cleaning lady she'd worked with before. "Ruth, there you are." Maria said, carrying a tray of glasses. "Can you help with the chairs in the ceremony room? They need straightening." Ruth nodded numbly and followed Maria into the grand ceremony room. It was breathtaking. White roses covered every surface. Candles flickered softly. The chairs were arranged in perfect rows, with white silk bows on each one. At the front, there was an arch covered in flowers where Michael and Vanessa would say their vows. Their lies, Ruth thought, where Vanessa would say her lies. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Maria whispered, "Like a fairy tale." "Yes," Ruth said quietly, "like a fairy tale." But Ruth knew that not all fairy tales had happy endings. Sometimes the princess was the villain. As Ruth straightened the chairs, she watched the guests fill the room. Rich people in expensive clothes, jewels that sparkled, laughter that sounded like music. She saw Michael's mother, an elegant woman with kind eyes, dabbing at tears of joy. She saw Michael's younger sister, bouncing with excitement. She saw Michael's father, a strong man with gray hair, patting his son on the back with pride. They had no idea. None of them had any idea. If Ruth spoke up, she would destroy this moment. This beautiful, expensive, carefully planned moment. Everyone would turn and look at her. The cleaning lady. The nobody. Who did she think she was, ruining a wedding? Vanessa would deny everything. "I never said that. This woman is lying. She's probably trying to get money from us." And everyone would believe Vanessa. Beautiful, wealthy, charming Vanessa. Not Ruth. Never Ruth. Ruth would be fired. Blacklisted. She might never work in this city again. How would she pay her rent? How would she help Lisa with the grandbaby's medicine? How would she survive? Ruth felt herself shrinking, getting smaller, more invisible. Maybe silence was better, safer, smarter. But then she saw Michael again. He was standing near the front, talking quietly with his best man. His face was glowing with pure, innocent joy. "I can't believe this is really happening," Michael said. "I feel like I've waited my whole life for this day. Vanessa is perfect. I'm going to spend every day making her happy. I'm going to be the best husband in the world." The best man laughed. "You're already the best person I know, Mike. She's lucky to have you." "No," Michael said softly. "I'm the lucky one." Something inside Ruth cracked. This man, this good, kind man who had learned her name, who had thanked her, who had treated her like a human being when everyone else treated her like furniture. He was walking into a trap, a beautiful flower-covered trap, and she was going to let it happen because she was afraid? Ruth thought about her grandmother again, about truth being like water. She thought about the woman in the parking lot all those years ago, the one Ruth had walked away from. She thought about Michael's smile, and she thought about Vanessa's laugh. That cold, cruel laugh. Michael is too trusting, too stupid. Ruth's hand stopped shaking. Her heart stopped racing. Something shifted inside her, something hard and solid and sure. Big Mama's voice echoed in her mind. "We got truth. We got dignity. Those things can't nobody take from you unless you give them away." Ruth wasn't going to give them away. Not today. Not ever again. The organ music began to play. Beautiful, powerful, filling the whole room. Everyone stood up. The ceremony was starting. Ruth moved to the back of the room, standing against the wall with the other staff. Her place, where invisible people belonged. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle in pink dresses, smiling and waving. Then the music changed. The wedding march. The big moment. Everyone turned to look at the back of the room. And there she was, Vanessa. She looked like an angel. White dress that sparkled like snow. A long veil. Flowers in her hands. A smile that could sell toothpaste. She walked slowly down the aisle. People gasped. Someone cried. Cameras flashed. Vanessa's eyes were locked on Michael at the front. But Ruth could see the truth behind that smile. The calculation. The coldness. Michael's face was full of love. Real, deep, honest love. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. Vanessa reached the front and took Michael's hands. The pastor opened his book. Dearly beloved, the pastor began, we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony. Ruth's feet began to move. She didn't plan it. She didn't think about it. She just moved. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, away from the wall, away from the shadows, away from invisibility, into the aisle, into the light. People started to notice. Heads turned. Whispers began. The cleaning lady was walking down the aisle. What was she doing? Ruth kept walking. Her heart was pounding again, but not with fear, with purpose. The pastor stopped talking. Michael looked up, confused. Vanessa's smile froze. Ruth walked all the way to the front and stopped. The whole room was silent. 200 people staring at her. Ruth looked at Michael. Only at Michael. And she opened her mouth to speak the truth. The silence in the room was so thick you could touch it. 200 pairs of eyes stared at Ruth, the cleaning lady in her simple uniform, standing at the front of the most expensive wedding anyone had ever seen. Ruth's mouth was dry. Her legs felt weak. But she didn't look away from Michael's confused face. I'm sorry, Ruth said, her voice quiet but clear. I'm so sorry, Mr. Henderson, but I have to tell you something. Something important. Ruth. Michael said softly, recognizing her. What's wrong? Are you okay? His kindness, even now, even when she was interrupting his wedding, made Ruth's eyes burn with tears. Vanessa's face turned red. Excuse me? Who is this woman? Security. Get her out of here. No, wait, Michael said, raising his hand. He looked at Ruth with concern. Let her speak. Ruth took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would change everything. Mr. Henderson? Michael, this morning I was cleaning the bride's room. I didn't mean to, but I heard a conversation. I heard Miss Vanessa talking to her friends. Vanessa's eyes went wide. The color drained from her face. What did you hear? Michael asked quietly. Ruth's voice got stronger. I heard her say that she doesn't love you. I heard her say she's only marrying you for your money. She said you were boring and too trusting. She said, lies. Vanessa screamed. She's lying. Michael, this woman is a crazy liar. She's probably jealous or wants money or... Let her finish, Michael said, and his voice was different now. Colder, harder. Ruth continued, looking only at Michael. She said she has someone else. A man named Derek. She said Derek is who she really loves, and that she plans to keep seeing him after the wedding. She said you would never know because you trust her too much. The room exploded. Gasps, shouts, whispers spreading like fire. Michael's mother stood up. Is this true? Michael's father's face turned purple with anger. Vanessa was shaking. Michael, baby, please. Don't listen to her. She's a nobody, a cleaning lady. Why would you believe her over me? Michael stared at Vanessa, really stared at her, like he was seeing her for the first time. Look at me, he said quietly. Look at me and tell me it's not true. Vanessa's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Michael, Tell me you love me, Michael said, his voice breaking. Tell me you're not using me. Tell me Derek doesn't exist. Vanessa's eyes darted around the room, looking for help, looking for escape. She couldn't find her words. And in that silence, everyone found their answer. One of the bridesmaids suddenly spoke up. Oh my God, Derek is real. I've seen him. Vanessa, you told me he was your cousin. Another friend gasped. She told me he was her personal trainer. The lies were unraveling like a cheap sweater. Vanessa's face crumpled. Tears started running down her cheeks, ruining her perfect makeup. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of someone who had been caught. Michael, please, she begged. Yes, I know Derek, but it's not what you think. I can explain. Did you love me? Michael asked simply. Did you ever love me? The room was silent again, everyone waiting. Vanessa looked down at her expensive shoes. When she spoke, her voice was small. I thought I could learn to love you. Michael's face didn't change, but Ruth saw something die in his eyes. The light went out. Get out, he said quietly. Michael, get out. His voice boomed through the room like thunder. Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Take your lies and your schemes and your fake love and get out. Vanessa stood there, frozen. Her beautiful dress suddenly looked like a costume. Her perfect face looked ugly with anger and shame. Michael's father stepped forward. You heard my son. Leave. Now. And if you try to sue for anything, if you try to claim you deserve something from this family, we have 200 witnesses here who heard the truth. Security guards appeared from the sides of the room. They weren't rough, but they were firm. They escorted Vanessa down the aisle. She walked past Ruth, and for just a second, their eyes met. Vanessa's look said, You destroyed me. Ruth's look said, You destroyed yourself. The bridesmaids hurried after Vanessa, their pink dresses swishing. The room buzzed with voices. Everyone was talking at once. Michael stood at the altar alone, his perfect tuxedo, his flower arch, his shattered dreams. He looked so lost, so broken. Ruth's heart ached for him. Michael's mother came to him and hugged him tight. His sister joined. Then his father. They surrounded him with love, protecting him from the stares. Ruth started to back away. She had done what she needed to do. Time to disappear again. Time to be invisible. Wait. Michael's voice stopped her. He gently separated from his family and walked over to Ruth. Up close, she could see the pain in his eyes, but also something else. Gratitude. Ruth, he said softly, you just saved my life. I'm sorry I ruined your wedding, Ruth whispered. Michael shook his head. You didn't ruin anything. She did. You gave me the truth. And truth is the greatest gift anyone has ever given me. Tears rolled down Ruth's cheeks. She couldn't help it. I know what this cost you, Michael continued. I know you risked your job, your reputation, everything. You didn't have to do that, but you did it anyway. Why? Ruth thought about her grandmother, about truth being like water, about dignity. Because you were kind to me, Ruth said simply. You treated me like I mattered, and I couldn't let someone who's that good get hurt when I had the power to stop it. Michael's eyes filled with tears. He did something then that shocked everyone in the room. He hugged her, a rich man in a tuxedo, hugging a cleaning lady in a uniform, in front of 200 wealthy guests. And he held on tight, like she was the most important person in the world. When he pulled back, he said, You'll always have a job with my family. Always. And not just as a cleaning lady. If you don't want that, whatever you need, whatever we can do to help you, consider it done. You're not invisible anymore, Ruth. Not to me. Not to anyone here. The room erupted in applause. People were clapping. For her. For Ruth. Michael's mother came over and hugged Ruth too. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for protecting my son. Michael's father shook Ruth's hand firmly. You have more courage than anyone in this room, including me. The guests came up one by one, shaking her hand, thanking her, seeing her. Ruth felt something she hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. She felt powerful, not because of money or beauty or status, but because of truth, because of courage, because she chose what was right over what was safe. Later, after the guests had left and the decorations were being taken down, Ruth sat in the garden alone. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Maria, the other cleaning lady, came and sat beside her. "Girl," Maria said, shaking her head, "you are either the bravest person I know or the craziest." Ruth laughed, a real laugh. It felt good. "Maybe both." "What you did in there?" Maria said quietly. "I could never do that. I'm too scared." Ruth looked at her. "I was scared too. I was terrified. But I realized something today. Being scared and being brave aren't opposites. Being scared and doing it anyway, that's what brave means." Maria nodded slowly. "You think you'll really keep your job?" "I don't know," Ruth said honestly. "But if I don't, I'll find another one. What I won't do is go back to being invisible. Not anymore." Michael came out into the garden. He had changed out of his tuxedo into regular clothes. He looked tired but calmer. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. "It's your garden," Ruth said with a small smile. Michael sat on the bench beside them. For a while, nobody spoke. They just watched the sunset together. "I should have seen it," Michael finally said. The signs were there. She never wanted to talk about deep things. She always wanted expensive gifts. She never asked about my work with the charity. I wanted to believe in love so badly that I ignored the truth. "That's not your fault," Ruth said firmly. "You trusted her. Trust is a beautiful thing. She's the one who broke it." Michael nodded. "I'm going to be okay. It hurts now, but I'm going to be okay." "And Ruth, I meant what I said. You're part of this family now. You showed me that real character isn't about money or status. It's about doing what's right, even when it's hard." Ruth felt her eyes fill with tears again. Happy tears this time. She thought about her grandmother. Big Mama would be so proud. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ruth realized something. She had cleaned this mansion all day, making it perfect for a wedding that never happened. But in the end, she had cleaned something more important. She had cleaned away lies. She had cleaned away deception. She had cleaned away the dirt that beautiful surfaces can hide. And sometimes that kind of cleaning is the most important work of all. 3 months later, Ruth walked into the Henderson estate. But this time it was different. She wasn't wearing her cleaning uniform. She was wearing a nice dress that Michael's mother had bought her. She wasn't carrying a mop and bucket. She was carrying a clipboard and a phone. Michael had kept his promise. He created a new job for her, house manager. She supervised all the staff, made sure everything ran smoothly, and was treated with respect by everyone. Her daughter Lisa couldn't believe it. "Mama, you have your own office, with your name on the door." Ruth did. And every morning when she walked past that door and saw her name, Ruth Johnson, house manager, she stood a little taller. Michael had recovered from his broken heart. He was dating again, but slower this time, wiser. He asked Ruth's opinion about people sometimes, and she gave it honestly. "Trust your gut," she told him. "But also trust people who tell you the truth, even when the truth is hard to hear." Vanessa had tried to sell her story to magazines, claiming she was a victim, but no one believed her. The 200 wedding guests made sure of that. Derek, the secret boyfriend, had disappeared the moment the scandal broke. Vanessa learned a hard lesson about men who only stick around when things are easy. Ruth heard she moved to another city. Started over. Maybe learn something. Maybe not. Ruth didn't waste time thinking about Vanessa anymore. She was too busy living her new life. A life where she mattered, where she was seen, where her voice had power. One evening, Ruth stood in the garden where she had sat after the wedding. Michael joined her, like he often did now. They had become real friends. "Thank you," Michael said, like he did every few weeks. "You don't have to keep thanking me," Ruth said with a smile. "Yes, I do," Michael said. "You changed my life, Ruth. You saved me from making the biggest mistake I could make. But more than that, you showed me what real courage looks like, what real goodness looks like. And that's a lesson I'll carry forever." Ruth looked up at the stars starting to appear in the darkening sky. She thought about her grandmother's words one more time. We got truth. We got dignity. And Ruth finally understood that truth and dignity weren't just things you had. They were things you chose. Every single day. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to hear more stories about courage, justice, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And comment below where you're watching from. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. Just like Ruth's. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak up, even when the whole world expects you to stay silent.